Welcome to the debate room. It is Tuesday, June 2nd. We're talking about Bitcoin mining, just as Bitcoin is starting to go down a bit. We figured this would be a good time to get a little bit educated and, know what we're talking about. We have some really, really awesome guests. Dustin, I know you can't wait for this episode. So happy to have you. What's going on?
Did you really just say that Bitcoin just started going down? Is that something that I actually heard here? Feels like it would go down forever.
This is a set it and forget it. Dustin, why are we so focused on the charts? Just take some elevation, look at the bigger picture. Okay.
Why are we? Because it's brutal. I mean, listen, we've watched, like, Bitcoin is actually doing better than most everything else. Sold at under $75 today. Like, bro.
So are you starting to accumulate some right now, or are you gonna wait this out a little bit longer?
I'm just trying to keep my head above water. Accumulate. I just don't want to die at this point. Like,
you've died and come back before. I'm not worried about you. You'll be fine.
No, listen, I'll be fine, but I do want to, like, it is brutal out there. Like, across the board, there's so much blood on all of the charts. Dude, I watched Charles Hoskinson, the Cardano founder's response to Taproot's, like, team, right? Like, a bunch. And this is why the bear markets are actually, like, a necessary and healthy part of the process. The stress collapses things down, forces, like, a kind of a clean out to happen. But it is always brutal. And I gotta say, this is where being the forever, like, Super Bowl is extra painful, because I've said that, bottom's definitely in at least 100 times now.
Yeah.
They get me stupid dead cat bounces get me every freaking time, every single time.
You're like, are you catching all the falling knives? I literally picked up scissors yesterday. Like buy the scissors. I just took the Band-Aid off today. That's what's going on.
So. I mean, listen, it is what it is, but it's especially hard because we're the one asset class that seems to just be struggling, right? S&P at all-time highs, precious metals, absolutely. I have to watch that nonsense from Peter Schiff, like, the gloating. Like, Peter Schiff has been right one time, like, for a 5-month stretch of over the last 10 years, and it's this one, and it's more. I think it just makes it extra hard that I have to, like, listen to that douchebag gloat. So I could play the, like, like, I'm just going to pretend like everything is the same. No, this is brutal. I think we're at the bottom. Nowhere but up from here,
okay,
Dana. Nowhere but up.
You're we're at the bottom again, huh? Yep. Let's bring up some of our other guests.
Definitely in.
Matt, where did you go? Why can't I see you?
Oh, I can't see. Can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
I'll fix my camera. Don't worry about it. Cool. How you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for coming. We're so happy to have you here. We're really excited. Can you give us a background on you?
Yeah, sure. I'm the president of American Bitcoin and the interim CFO. So we're a big Bitcoin accumulator. We run a mine. We've got 28 exahash of computing power, and we also have a treasury of over 7,500 Bitcoin. So we're busily trying to keep the network secure and get as many Bitcoin as possible doing it.
Okay. So are you feeling this at all, or are you just, like, putting your head down and doesn't really matter right now?
I think for us, to everything, there's a season. And while it is a crypto winter, I think Bitcoin is among all the different crypto assets proving the most resilient. So for us, as sort of the manufacturing sector of the Bitcoin economy, we're pretty focused on ensuring that our energy costs are manageable and that we're able to mine through all these conditions. So while some of our peers are looking primarily at Bitcoin price, I think we're also looking at hash price, difficulty, energy price, et cetera, and ensuring that we're able to weather the storm that's happening right now.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm really looking into getting into all the differences of these different mining companies and like how you guys are operating. There's a lot of confusion about it. So anyway, Matt, super pumped to have you. And Kent, give us a background on you. Very glad to have you as well. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me here. Definitely feeling a bit of the pain, but more on behalf of our customers. So I'm the CEO and co-founder at SAS Mining. We do mining as a service. So we help other people generate Bitcoin from themselves. And certainly our customers are hurting here. We only earn when our clients do. So our revenue is Bitcoin as well. So we feel the pain as well. When you have operating expenses in dollars but are earning Bitcoin, when the price goes down, it's like, okay, I have less to pay for, or less that I can pay for. So yeah, it's certainly a fun time to be in mining, and I think this is where you get to see who's strong in the industry. Historically, from a mining perspective, I don't know, Matt, you probably agree with this, but it's like the cream rises to the top. The people that continue to survive and stay in the business kind of grow reputationally strong over time. And you notice after 4 or 5 years in the industry, who's left still standing. And, this is just another downturn. We've been through many, certainly in the past, I've tried to catch knives. I'm not doing that now, just trying to make sure that our customers are happy and getting the rewards from their mining machines.
So, Ken, you operate like a service, kind of like a service company or like a SaaS product for mining. Would you say that's kind of the case? And then Matt, you're like a Bitcoin accumulation machine. So you're kind of like different, not really in the same category of mining, but just different ways of operating. Do I have that right?
You got it. We actually coined the term mining as a service to help describe exactly what you just came up with. We were the first to kind of come to market with the tech platform first, and then strap on the data centers.
I like it. Mining as a service. Cool. And then John, please, if you can introduce yourself. You're kind of like you're also a little bit in a different category of mining, more like mining operations, right? Can you tell us about you and your business and what you guys are doing?
Sure. I'm John Balberic, the founder and CEO of Mining Store. Got into Bitcoin mining back in 2013 and founded the company in 2016. So coming up on 10 years at Mining Store, and we help customers mine Bitcoin, mine Zcash, mine Litecoin, and we also build and operate facilities. So some of our clients are family offices that are looking to get operating and building mines in opportunity zones, or get exposure in industrial parks where they have property and real estate. So we offer a wide range of services, from consumer mining to family offices owning their actual facilities, to people just hosting machines and operating them at facilities that we run, all based in Iowa.
Okay. So which one of you guys do you think is feeling the pain the most right now?
Because Matt has the most Bitcoin, so he had the biggest drop today.
Yeah, it's I think we're certainly paying attention. The stack is increasing, but as they say, it's P times Q. So Q quantity is going up. P has been going down for the past couple of weeks now. But yeah, we're feeling it, but we're also so conservative in terms of how we run this business and operate lean and mean that we're far from our floor. But yeah, we're watching price.
Okay. Mitch, very happy to have you too. You're a Bitcoiner. I know you like mining as well. So please give an intro to yourself. Thanks for joining the convo.
Yes, thank you. Mitch, Bitcoiner, part-time YouTuber, person on X. Check me out, Mitch_BTC21. And yeah, just happy to be a part of the discussion today.
Thank you, Mitch. So Matt, I think Matt is trying to reconnect his camera. So hopefully he's able to. Hey, Matt. Feel free to come in and out if you're trying to reconnect. I know it's tough right now. You know, things are expensive. We have to be a little bit careful with our internet service charges.
He
So-
sold his camera for Bitcoin. It's so cheap.
I remember when were you on that Spaces with me, Dustin, when what's his name in Puerto Rico is like, oh, I'm like selling all my shirts and my clothes, and I'm just like, I own anything these days. So I might as well just keep buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, so it's. I mean, again, price action is always going to dominate, and anyone who's saying they're not paying attention is full of crap. But I've seen a lot of what I think is misattribution. Like, I don't think the Sailor sale had much impact at all. I think that the Google update on quantum feasibility, 10% by 2030, 50% by 2035. I've talked to some really smart people who think that I've heard both sides of the debate about quantum and the need for like quantum fortification of Bitcoin. I'm curious what you guys think. Like, is the threat real, number one? And then two, is Bitcoin, is Core and the rest of the developer crew ready to get it done in time? It's kind of a softball, whoever wants to take that one.
There's been some good developments and good conversations on how do we quantum proof Bitcoin. Some of those involve taking Satoshi's coins. You know, it's not an easy argument, but I know that as being a Bitcoiner since 2013, that we will solve this as a community. There will be proposals, there will be debate, and that's what we've gone through with Big Block debate previously, with different types of technological changes and not necessarily forks, but upgrades that the Bitcoin system has gone through. So that's the nice thing about this code in this setup with Bitcoin is we have a three-party system. We have the miners, which we're here today, and we help control the network and ensure it stays in check. We have the developers, which is where your question is on how are they going to change and help fix the quantum issue. And then we have the nodes, which help relay the transactions and run and choose which software the community is using and wants to put their mind and resources behind. Thankfully, those three groups all want to achieve consensus, right? And come to an agreement to bring quantum resistant Bitcoin to the market. So I'm not worried because I know that the Bitcoin community here is made up of amazingly smart people who are going to solve this problem.
Hard to get them all to agree, though. Like it's gotten. I really since we went through some of what you talked about, and I remember some of the fights in 2016, 2017, 2018. It's a much larger community with. I don't know how to put this softly, but the idealists have been ratioed down. Right? Like now we've got big Wall Street players and big money. It's not all about the revolution anymore. We've kind of matured into something that's much bigger. And my fear, I think that taking Satoshi's coins would be a disastrous PR hit. Like the whole concept of not your keys, not your crypto. Like, if we're removing ownership of tokens because of whatever, I think that could be a problem, but maybe not. Maybe, I guess if Wall Street's happy, all is good, right, Kent? I saw you unmute a couple times.
Well, I don't know if Wall Street being happy is the way we win here. I mean, the way that I look at it is, John Paul's right. Like, there's these three groups, but ultimately, unless the nodes upgrade their software, there's not a new consensus on the network, right? So they're the ultimate arbiters, and I do think the node runners are primarily idealistic folk. So getting them to consensus, while I think quantum is a potential threat, I'm not worried about it. Everything that I can come across, that I've come across, is it's the FUD du jour. It's the current boogeyman, and there's not a lot of merit behind it. we don't really know how to actually scale up the qubit problem to manage the error correction. It seems like right now is the time to be good Boy Scouts and be prepared and have a plan. And I see the community has got plans developed. They're debating them. They're trying to figure out which ones make the most sense. And certainly I think it's a foolish idea to take Satoshi's coins, because I think violating the property rights of Bitcoin actually breaks the thesis of Bitcoin wholeheartedly. So I think the community is really smashing that one down. It's great to have every idea thrown at the table and let the meritocracy of ideas play out here, but I don't think that has any legs to go anywhere. I'd be shocked if it did. But I do think, probably more impactful is let's assume that those million Bitcoin that Satoshi has do get unleashed on the market. What happens to price? Well, we saw 2 million Bitcoin trade hands between the 60K to 75K band over the last 6 to 8 months. So there's pretty clear proof that the market can absorb those. And to me, that's a much better outcome here. But I think regardless how you go about it, there's a need for cryptography to improve given threats. Even without quantum, just increases in computational power that's available means that current 256K encryption is under threat at some point in the not so distant time horizon. So the fact that the community's focused on it, creating plans and being good Boy Scouts here causes me not to have any concern. I think what's currently being used for narratives out there is largely to spook the market and probably to get Bitcoin at a cheaper price.
Gotta love funding for entry. I'm pro at that, by the way. Well, absolute legendary stuff. I don't really understand the whole quantum thing, except to know that cryptography has always been a cat and mouse game, which is right. We've always had to and the real base of all of the reason we call it crypto is cryptography. You have, it's always a cat and mouse for how you protect your ability to communicate without censorship, all of these different ways. The quantum thing, I think, is just a massive compute power issue that we're seeing come online. We'll see as far as the broader impact. But Mitch, is that why the prices, or how are we doing worse than freaking everything else right now? Can you explain that to me? Go.
Yeah, well, that's the question, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it is extra painful when, one, this cycle, we don't have a blow off top. We don't have a 2017 style mania or 2021. It's a muted top. And then to add insult to injury, literally everything else rips while we're here at 67,000. Yeah, it's definitely been difficult, but and like you talked about earlier, I think everyone feels it, even if you're not, paying too close of attention to it. But I've never been more bullish on Bitcoin. The case is always present. You talk about quantum. I was hearing about it, or was listening to someone saying, well, what does it look like after we get past that hurdle? Once quantum, because I'm definitely in JP's camp where, and I'm not a quantum expert, but with the amount of mind share we have across the community to get to a post-quantum era of Bitcoin, and by the time that happens, the institutionalization of Bitcoin that's been taking place over the last number of years, the rollout of ETFs and all the stuff you see in the news all the time about Bitcoin getting more and more integrated into the financial system. What does a world look like where Bitcoin has been institutionalized and we're post-quantum? Then what's stopping it? And I would say nothing.
Well, we'll have to upgrade to whatever the next threat, right? Quantum plus, right? Super duper quantum.
Now, could be anything.
It's another one of those things in regards to FUD. There's just in the Bitcoin world, there's always something. Every year, it's something that is going to cause someone to freak out and ultimately lead them to having less Bitcoin than what they started the year with.
So Mitch, I agree with you. I think that the quantum FUD will be here until we're post-quantum. So it's just whether that ever happens, we're in a pre-quantum world and for the foreseeable future. Let's say we get to a post-quantum state through any number of techniques or whatever, there's a breakthrough, Microsoft, et cetera. Bitcoin probably weathers the storm one of a dozen different ways. Maybe some keys get stolen, maybe not, but Bitcoin survives as a concept. What will be interesting is at that point, you're going to have a situation where, to your point, people are going to wonder, well, what's the FUD now? It's probably the security budget on mining, bring the mining element, and people wondering, wait, hold on, where's the transaction fees? How are we going to pay for all this hash rate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Like, I think the industry is making some steps in that direction as people continue to build on top of Bitcoin, whether it's through layer 2s or Lightning, et cetera. But you're right that even with quantum solved, and I'm sure will be solved in some way, shape, or form, there will be another narrative. People will give up their coins and we'll continue what we do.
Going back to mining, should anyone be doing mining at home? Does anyone agree that anyone should be doing that now? Can we all raise our hands if we think they should be? Now, I think, oh, you do?
I think you should be mining at home. There's the mining at home heat trend is something that is growing. I had an individual from Hestia on my podcast, and he's in Newfoundland, Canada, and they have some of the cheapest energy in the world up there, and they use normal heaters and to create heat. But now they're like, let's switch to Bitcoin miners. And so that about 50% of that town is now using Bitcoin miners as heat. And that's like maybe an extreme example of penetration of mining at the home because of their unique situation. But there's so many uses where we're paying to create heat across the United States and across the world, where you no longer need to do that with a miner. So yes, you're not going to get rich from mining at home, but you can help subsidize your electric bill, which for some people, for most people, that helps. Do I think mining with a BitAxe at home makes sense? No, I don't think that makes sense. I think it's like you're going to get struck by lightning. There's no financial return here. It's a gimmick, but it's fun. And if you're doing it for that fun nature of exploring what Bitcoin is, then go for it. But if you're trying to get rich or trying to make a lottery miner hit a block, it's not going to happen.
Oh man, there goes my retirement plans.
I'm sorry, Dustin.
I do have I've got a BitAxe on my desk. It's a lottery ticket, and I know it's a lottery ticket. It's just fun to have, just in case. It's a lottery
Every day,
ticket.
10 cents of good vibes. Good vibes.
Yeah. I do. I look at it and I say, come on, let's go today. It's like rubbing the lamp, hoping a genie pops out. No,
big money, no whammies.
What's that?
Come on, big money, no whammies.
There you go. You got it exactly, man. No, I think in the exact case that you're talking about, like, look, if you got to run an electric heater in your house for heat, replace that with a Bitcoin mining heater, right? The numbers just came out recently, peer-reviewed study. It saves you about 4 cents per kilowatt hour, which may not sound like a lot, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be heating your home anyway with the resistive heating, it's just as efficient to be mining because every kilowatt that you use with mining, you get Bitcoin for it, versus if you're using a kilowatt with electric resistive heating, you're just getting heat. So why not have both, right? And that winds up saving about 4 cents per kilowatt hour in general. So yeah, that's a very simple one, but it's really only in that use case that I see mining from home makes sense. Otherwise, mining from home is really a tinkerer's project, which is great if you want to go experiment and come up with new clever ideas for how to mine. Maybe they scale up and we need tinkerers to be tinkering. However, if you're the common person, it's much better to use a service like, what John Paul or I offer.
And I just did some Gemini. If you had a BitAxe, the 2.2 terahash turbo version, 2.2 terahash speed, you need 12.7 million of them to meet Matt's hash rate at ABTC here. And most of their hash rate, Matt, is in what, one building, two buildings?
Yeah, most of it is in one 5 football field long, super complex in the Texan Panhandle. But I welcome the competition. So if someone would like to fire up a BitAxe, they can come along and we can vie for the same block. It's all good.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is. We can actually do the math on that chance. There's a chance.
So what's going to happen 10 years from now with all of your different business models? Like, who is going to be pivoting more and who's going to be staying more or less the same?
That's a good question. I think we all play in the Bitcoin mining space, but we also all are in the energy game. We make money from curtailing our power, from selling demand response credits, from participating in these very just like confusing energy markets. And so I don't think most people realize that about Bitcoin miners. Yes, they make money from Bitcoin, but some years or months we make way more from just selling and turning off our energy or using energy that's constrained and is negatively priced. A home miner doesn't have that advantage because their contract usually doesn't allow them to do that. But I would say all three of us have that ability. Now, the whole is no one using the network and stable coins 10 years out from now, that still scares me a little bit. And I don't know if we're going to be able to participate and still be effective. But I do know that with air cooling being turned off and more people moving to hydro mining, we are finding improvements in running facilities with less staff, with less software costs, with less overhead. Previously, that was creating additional costs outside of just your electricity. So miners are resilient, they're more efficient, and they're always going to find the lowest cost kilowatt hour.
Yeah, interesting. That's a good point. It's like, now people are starting to invest in like almonds and like, I don't know, because it takes a lot of water. It takes a lot of water to make an almond, or like just natural resources or land, like international land. So yeah, in a way you are, yeah, you're right. Energy.
The American Almond Company, Matt. I think you found your new CEO.
It could be a new strategic, an almond. Is that a new DAT, digital almond treasury? Is that where we're going?
That's where we're going.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a mass company, mining as a service, as I just learned about. It's like a future. It's like a Waters future, apparently.
Yeah, the blue gold.
If you guys couldn't invest, if you didn't have your own company, would you all invest in each other's companies? Like, I'm not Donald Trump. I have 200 million to throw at Matt, but if you were to not actually be in your business model, who would you be most interested in as a second choice?
Well, that's a wicked question right there.
I'm invested in American Bitcoin.
You don't have to be all in. Dustin, you don't have to be all in on one. I know you like to do that, but like you can diversify a little bit. You can be a little bit Kent, Matt, John.
I think they're all invested in each other.
Yeah, I'm in American Bitcoin. I bought some of their stock after meeting Matt and Mike Ho, and I believe that they're stacking sats and doing it well. I think they're going to be a great play when the price of Bitcoin starts to move and hash rate can't get online fast enough. It's great exposure. Obviously, in a bear market, anyone who's just a pure Bitcoin play has been suppressed in price because of everyone wants to talk about AI. I'm actually amazed we didn't bring that up in quantum. Like, imagine all this compute that's all this infrastructure going into build these AI data centers, and we can do it in a little small quantum computer that is in a room. But that's a whole nother story. We don't need to dive down that rabbit hole. But yeah, I think American Bitcoin offers a great product for getting retail exposure, for getting volatility and leverage. You're not going to get the depreciation that you get from SAS mining and from Mining Store, but maybe that's why Matt's investing with us.
Yeah, Eva, that's nice of you to say. I think flipping it around was something that I really admire that I think John Paul's done well is the audience and the attention game is such an important part of building a company narrative in 2026. It's great to do the work. We hit our quarterly targets. Our earnings calls are great, but there's also a certain spark that I think you need to inspire people with, and that's something that I think for American Bitcoin, we've only been around for about a year, so getting the story out is still something that we are comparatively new at. But I've seen the content, for instance, that John Paul's put out, over the years, and actually also SAS mining, with sort of direct to consumer, it's impressive, and I think there's a lot that we actually could learn from at American Bitcoin about how to best capture the imagination of the everyday investor.
What are you guys most worried about in the mining industry? Is it the mostly regulation or energy costs? The halving, the time of the cycle. Like, I know some of the earlier mining companies that started, they just kind of, once Bitcoin hit, a certain level, they just kind of abandoned all of their material because it just was not profitable and they didn't even bother selling the equipment. I mean, this is a long time ago, but like, which one of those things are you most concerned about?
I'll take the opposite of you. I think it's one of the best times to be a miner. If you look out across the landscape, so many of our competitors at American Bitcoin are leaving they're choosing to become AI companies. And I get it. There's a lot of appeal to sort of the AI trade that they want to chase. But for us, this just means our competitors are leaving. And that leaves more and more of the daily Bitcoin supply in our hands. And when you couple that with the supply chain issues that John Paul was alluding to, look, if and when Bitcoin sentiment turns, and in many cases, sentiment in Bitcoin follows price. Today was a tough day, I think, for folks, and so sentiment is down. When the price is good, sentiment roars back pretty quickly, as we've seen over so many cycles thus far. And so, looking at 2026 and into 2027, if and when sentiment turns around, they're not going to be able to get hash rate online fast enough to capture that value. And so, for folks on this call who are positioned and have the exahash online, there's an enormous opportunity, and it's never been like that before. In years past, large mining consortiums were able to sort of express order chips from overseas and get them online, but the electricity is not there anymore. So the ability for someone to put a gigawatt of mining capacity has almost never been harder. And for an incumbent like us, that's pretty good. And so I prefer if quantum chips didn't melt down the network in the next 6 months, and I prefer if energy prices stayed somewhat stable. But by and large, I think we're in a fairly solid footing as an industry.
I would say for me, if I was going to choose a problem, I think it's the current data center narrative out there that they're super loud, that there's these subatomic like sound waves that are coming out of them, that they use all the water in the world. Because now as a Bitcoin miner, we're being looped into the same bucket as these AI data centers, but we're completely different on the power profile. We're turning off our facilities. We have proof and data that we've lowered the cost for the local communities at these electric cooperatives we run at, and people aren't necessarily seeing that, and they're acting out of fear of like, we don't want a data center in our community. And it's so extreme because I have utilities that we work with that are saying, JP, if you want to build a site here, you need to sign an affidavit that says you're not going to build a Bitcoin mine and it's only going to be AI. But then I have other utilities who say, no, JP, you cannot do AI. You only must do Bitcoin mining. We won't let you build an AI facility here because you won't turn off your facility and make money in the power markets anymore, which is going to affect our profits. And so therefore, you can't set your electric strike price above a certain number. And so it's complete like contradiction depending on who you're talking to, what community you're in. I have mayors that say, we want a data center here. This is going to be amazing for our community. We see the capital investment, the taxes, the jobs. And then we have other communities, just the next door neighbor county, passing the same thing. We're doing a 1-year moratorium. Well, 2 years ago, they gave us a letter and said, you can build your data center. We don't have any zoning, no permitting, no issues. And so there's just so much confusion across the board, depending on where you're working. I think what we need is some federal policy providing support and guidance that we can't be steamrolled or stopped by these small local county zoning boards, which are just stopping these projects across the world and across the United States. We're seeing that most of these data center projects that got announced are now delayed or just completely canceled, with the ones that were announced in 2025 and 2026. And to Matt's point, all of us are long power here. And when you're long power, that is a huge advantage that others don't have. So we're not going to leave our Bitcoin mines and just abandon them. We can probably sell them for more than we built them for or bought them for, simply because we have access to the power and we have the contracts today that others don't have.
I've got a different answer here, and mine comes down to trust in the marketplace. So what these guys are saying, I agree with fully. And what I see is that we're building a product to onboard the masses and compete with exchanges, right? We believe that mining Bitcoin is a better way to get your Bitcoin. And we're building out that product experience so that we can onboard, 10,000 plus customers over the next few years. And doing that builds a social layer of the Bitcoin network. It brings people down to being long power with us as well. And that creates a protective force for the network and creates a political body to resist a lot of what you're talking about, John Paul. So at the end of the day, my competition isn't either of these guys here that are self-mining or helping other people mine. My competition is actually the exchanges, because I want to prove to people that they should be mining as we originally did from 2009 to 2013, that it's just better Bitcoin to get it this way.
What are their competitive advantages in these industries? I mean, again, you guys are all very different, but like, for example, I know, John Paul, you were mining in really unique locations, right? Like in the NBA arena, and I don't know what else you were doing. Like,
yeah, we found NBA arena, tires, demanufacturing tires to create energy. There's all these places in the world and in our environments where energy just goes up in heat and it's not utilized in the manufacturing processes, in wind farms that are creating stranded energy that no one's using. And that's why we have negative price power. So as a mining store, we find those opportunities and we help others, either those asset owners or ourselves, build Bitcoin mines at the location. But one of the big things that reasons why people get into mining is because of depreciation. As a US investor, you can take advantage of the depreciation. So not only, as Kent mentioned, you're getting Bitcoin at a discount, but you also can now receive the depreciational benefits and the tax benefits from mining Bitcoin. And that, when you talk to an investor and you're like, hey, you can invest a few $1 million in here, or you can pay the IRS. Every year at the end of the year in December and November, we have a rush of new customers looking to invest in these Bitcoin miners. Let alone, we mentioned economic development zones. That has no capital gains taxes on any of the Bitcoin mined there for the next 10 years, or if you hold it for 10 years. So imagine mining Bitcoin today and in 10 years selling it with no capital gains tax. For a family office, that's like gold. So they build mining facilities in these rural areas where there's been job loss, where there's been degrowth of industrial capacity. And that's why this economic development zone plan that has now been extended for many more years came out, was to encourage investment in these rural communities where some of our mining store sites are. So I think mining is like is a way to obtain other benefits, either tax benefits or energy benefits, or using energy that's not going anywhere. It should be viewed as a conduit to optimizing an asset versus just as a, hey, I'm going to lottery mine and get some Bitcoin and maybe I'm profitable.
interesting. So like when you're talking to these families, offices, and other people, are they like more interested in that than actually, because I've had a few interactions, and what's interesting is that some of them that don't have Bitcoin, they're like, oh, I should get into mining. And to me, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no offense to you guys. I think that that's great that their mind went there, but I'm thinking, I'm not saying anything because I don't want to give financial advice, but in my head, I'm thinking, don't you want to buy Bitcoin first? But they're actually interested in the first principles of just going to Bitcoin.
And they need an edge. And most people who have made money have made it in an industry that's a physical industry where you're developing something, you're building something. And so they see that, they understand that. They're not afraid of building a project. They're not afraid of putting up a data center. So for them, that's how they think about it versus, oh, let me just go on a website and buy it. Because they can do that. They might already have exposure through the ETF and through other ways. But to Ken's earlier point, Bitcoin mining is a social thing. It brings like that Bitcoin that's virtual, that you're not able to see. It puts it physically in your hand when you're holding a Bitcoin miner, when you're able to see, okay, I use electricity and this is me getting new Bitcoins. And then all those other benefits really help with making this a possibility for family offices, for high net worth individuals, but then also even for retail, and they want to buy one machine and put it in one of our facilities. Or if they just want exposure to Matt stock and they want to take $1 instead of buying McDonald's and buy a share. At any level, you can get Bitcoin mining exposure. It's just, what is your edge? And what do you think your edge is? Is it timing with Matt because he has the biggest fleet and low overhead? Is it that you own the land and you own the industrial process with someone like Mining Store? Is it tax benefits and you want to go and manage services with Ken? We're all provide those different avenues for anyone to get in at any check level.
What do you guys think is the most misunderstood thing about mining, other than how it works, which is like, oh, you're solving math problems, and like other than that, or maybe that's really the main problem. Like when you're trying to explain this to people, like someone like me still, what's the most misunderstood thing about it?
I think the most misunderstood thing about it is the confusion that our industry's created for the average person. And the reason is because we've tried to, as an industry, tried to educate the market that you can have your cake and eat it too, right? When you show up to mining, you have a preference if dollars are your money or Bitcoin is your money. If dollars are your money, great, go maximize the dollars that you can get mining Bitcoin to do so. We have a strong opinion that Bitcoin is our money, and we cater to Bitcoin acquisition. But if you show up for Bitcoin-based acquisition, you usually have a much better experience because you're dollar cost averaging through energy into a Bitcoin position, and taking that view, you're going to hold your Bitcoin, and your Bitcoin's going to appreciate in value, because really you shouldn't get into mining unless you think the price of Bitcoin's going up in the first place. But having that base assumption, it's just a better way to get Bitcoin than dollar cost averaging on an exchange. Like right now, for instance, our clients, just on an energy basis, so setting the hardware aside, they're able to dollar cost average at about $50,000 per Bitcoin, which is still below the price of buying Bitcoin on exchange. So I think the confusion on what Bitcoin is meant for is the biggest issue. And Satoshi designed the network to distribute Bitcoin through mining. So just getting it very clear on why you're mining, I think, is a big part of winning at the Bitcoin game.
I think the name mining, this has been something people have pointed out for years, but I think the name mining at a certain point maybe got counterproductive on a few different levels. One, the literal job, I think, is more to do with bookkeeping than resource extraction. If you think about it, we're securing a very, very large decentralized ledger. But the other is, I think, when it came time to build these marquee large-scale super centers like we built, people got the wrong impression. No one really wants to live next to a mine. No matter how many times you explain that it's computers, they still don't want to do it. And so even now, you would think with Bitcoin being a decade plus into the mining game, still some work to be done, I think, on that front. So as I look ahead and where we're going to go in the next 5 to 10 years, I think we're going to continue to become an industrial scale, almost data center play, but one that's uniquely situated for remote environments or energy sources that are a bit unique, as has been mentioned on this call, relative to sort of a single, gas generator or whatever. Just like 5 years ago, people were mining out of a single container, or 5 years before that, they were mining in a basement. I mean, the industry will continue to evolve, and the scale is such that you need to not just get better at site development and construction, but you also need to get better at finance, you need to get better at team management, you need to get better at capital markets, and the level of the game just keeps going up.
Matt, if somebody wants to invest in a Bitcoin stock, why do you think that they would invest in ABTC versus MSTR or any of the other, well, not any of the other treasury companies, but another treasury company, for example? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think folks need to make an investment that matches their risk profile and also their expectations for what they want to get out of it. If somebody wants to buy spot Bitcoin, then they'll own some spot. You need to do that in a specific location, Coinbase, etc. But you'll get some Bitcoin of your own, and then maybe you can hold it in your own wallet. Or you could buy an ETF. Someone will hold it for you. They'll charge you a small fee, but the amount you're going to get is fixed at the price of the day that you made that swap, and that's probably fine for a lot of people. But then there's another layer, which are people that want to have accumulation. They want to have more Bitcoin over time, not just a higher priced Bitcoin. And so if you want more Bitcoin over time, you start looking at companies that do accumulation. So Strategy is one such company. American Bitcoin is another. Some of the other miners would be a third, but they're very different in the strategies. MicroStrategy, or just Strategy now, really focuses a lot on the financial engineering and all sorts of interesting instruments, preferred or otherwise, to get folks into this sort of Bitcoin treasury flywheel. And so that's a strategy that for people that want that kind of torque or amplification could meet their investment parameters. On the other hand, if folks want more of your classic, mine something at 50 cents and it's worth $1 story, American Bitcoin really plays in that zone. We go out there and we find energy and we assemble large fleets of computers to tap that energy, and we produce Bitcoin at less than it costs. Or less than it would sell for, I should say. So it really depends. And for us, we are focused solely on that accumulation story. So if people want to take the operational risk that comes with any investment, where you're investing in an operating business, then American Bitcoin could meet that profile. But for other folks, they may be better suited to do something more like a traditional instrument.
So obviously you have, the Trump name behind you, Eric Trump. How much involvement does he have And, what are maybe some of his opinions, or, like, how much involvement is he on the like day-to-day or just strategy side?
Eric Trump is a co-founder of American Bitcoin. He remains actively involved when it comes to a lot of our strategy. So he has become himself a long-term Bitcoin believer. He has an origin story that came from being debanked effectively and realizing that, hey, there's an alternative financial system out here that I should probably be a part of and support the growth of. And so he joined forces with us to form American Bitcoin. His involvement's been great. I think he's been very active in helping articulate our story to the world. I think there's an enormous vacuum in Bitcoin for a $1 to $2 trillion asset class. You don't have these marquee companies. You have Strategy, which is doing a lot to, I think, accumulate Bitcoin with their sort of financial instruments. But in terms of operating companies, it's actually pretty open. A lot of the companies that historically were the large operating companies in the Bitcoin mining sector have left. And for us to come out here and say, hey, we're doing this, we're going to start building here in America. We want to keep this industry here in the United States. We want to create jobs. We think that something that 40 to 50 million Americans own should be, represented by large American companies. That's a mission that gets us out of bed in the morning. And so Eric's pretty involved with making sure that we make that a success.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it's great that he brought attention this debanking problem. I mean, it happened to Dustin. It happens a lot and people don't know about it because you're essentially kind of like sidelined and you can't really talk about it either, because then other banks maybe don't want to work with you later. So it's cool that he spoke about that and is bringing some attention around, like Bitcoin and these other things that are like around self-custody. So that's cool.
Yeah, Bitcoin is a game of advocacy and education, right? No matter whether you're speaking to local people when you're wanting to build a site, or whether you're speaking to financial planners or groups like that, or to everyday Americans who might want to invest in it, it's a game of advocacy and it's a game of education. And so having Eric involved with that mission has been incredibly effective for us.
So I want to go around and talk about some of your plans for the next 2 years with each of you. And then I know you guys, some of you guys have to go, so we'll wrap it up. But Kent, why don't we start with you? After we survive this bear market, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, no, we want to just keep making it easier for people to mine instead of buy Bitcoin. And that's the whole mission here. And what does that mean? That means one of the biggest barriers is the upfront cost. Even though we sell as little as a single mining rig to the public, even that, which is $5 to $6K, can be a barrier for some people to get started, or just the trust factor. Like, hey, I'm going to have to spend $5 to $6K. I don't know if I can really trust these guys. So we want to create some financing mechanisms and or smaller products to get people started with mining. That would be number one. Number two would be continue to build out our platform, right? We've invested heavily in the UX and the experience, the software, to make it easy so that like your grandmother can come along and with a few clicks be generating her own Bitcoin, going directly to her wallet in a non-custodial way, right? That means we never touch anybody's Bitcoin along the way. And being able to do that with ease and grace is non-trivial. A lot of the software stack has not been well developed out there for mining. It's not rudimentary, I wouldn't say, but it's more for people that want to get under the hood than it is for an easy user experience, a Web 2 user experience. So continuing to develop that and make it easy and accessible would be the rest of the strategy. Because what we want to do is onboard in the next couple of years 10,000 plus customers. And that can't be done with a lot of friction in the process.
Nice. Okay. 10,000 plus customers. We'll follow up with you about that. I think that's a good goal. What about you, John Paul?
For us, we're focused on expanding our existing Bitcoin mining fleet and changing it from air cooling to hydro cooling, as we're seeing those are more efficient machines, more demand. Also in the future, we're looking at some of these facilities and building AI sites. So as well as Bitcoin mining, AI is obviously the craze. Everyone wants to be developing these sites, be investing in these sites. So we are also doing the same thing. In 2 years, I see ourselves applying for and having a mega campus. So most of our facilities at Mining Store today are between 5 and 10 megawatt in their individual sites at small substations and with small cooperatives. we're shifting to and applying for load studies across the US that are in the terms of 200 to 600 megawatts, where you can build a mix of Bitcoin mining and AI data centers that can go hand in hand to develop and be a large multi-billion-dollar project where you have a big tenant similar to Hut 8 Steel that Matt and his team over there put together. So that's how I see Mining Store growing. We'll still have our consumer focus as well and still have those sites that we run in Iowa, but we're seeing a lot of demand for AI compute, even AI compute that can be put up in 10 megawatt increments because of these delays from previous projects I mentioned. And the fact that those projects and that compute is purchased, it's sitting in warehouses, and it's not running. And so there is a need for power available today that can be quickly shifted into AI in under 6 months.
Okay, very interesting. Some of that went over my head. So, but I'll have to Google some of these cooling things. Like, sounds
Yeah,
very
so
technical and
machines used to be cooled by air, and now they're cooled by water and glycol, which is like a fluid to help with cooling. Matt's facility.
Right? I feel like
what was that?
I feel like that's in some like sci-fi movies where people were like killing people with that. No, it's very.
I don't know, but I was going to say Matt's facility, it is all hydro cooling, and it is very relatively quiet. It's more dense. You have a lot higher wattage per rack. So that's where the industry is moving towards across the board because of the just the less maintenance on these machines and higher uptime across the board.
Okay. Well, you stay focused on that because we're relying on you.
Thanks.
Matt, how much more Bitcoin are you guys going to get in 2 years?
As much as we can. Our view is that Bitcoin deserves to have this flagship operating company. Mining is obviously how we're starting. Bitcoin accumulation is a core part of the strategy, but the ambition for American Bitcoin over a few years is much larger than just operating the computers. We want to build that infrastructure layer of the Bitcoin economy in the United States. So that means power, that means capital, that means Bitcoin production, that means advocacy, that means education, and that means being this force for the industry here in the US as a marquee asset for Americans. And ultimately, we want to be one of those institutions that help bring Bitcoin from this emerging asset to this permanent part of the global financial system, starting with the US.
Okay, awesome. Well, Measure Your Lips company. So I really appreciate all of you keeping us warm in this very sad time. And we'll check in with you in a couple of years and see what you guys have accomplished. So thank you so much for coming, and please follow all of these guys if you want to be successful in a couple of years with your money, or learn about cooling systems. So please come back again. We really appreciate it.
All the cooling.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Dan.
See you next Tuesday. Bye-bye. Arch Lending is building the most transparent borrowing experience in crypto. Get industry-leading rates from 8.49% APR, borrow against Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana, and receive USD or USDC within minutes. Your assets stay protected with qualified custody, no rehypothecation, and verifiable segregated addresses. As your collateral grows, unlock more liquidity, adjust your line anytime, and extend your term with a single click. And with 24/7 white glove support, you're never on your own. Arch Lending, simple tiers, public pricing, market-leading rates at every size. Check them out at archlending.com/debates. Again, it's archlending.com/debates. Use code debates to get 50 basis points off your APR on your crypto back loan today.